In this tutorial, we will extend a previous project to add some extra functionality and look at easier ways to edit our code. So I'm here on code.org and I've come to projects. And if I scroll down, I can find previous projects that I've worked on. So I was working on a car counting app, and I'm going to reload the car counting app from the list. And where I had got to was I had produced buttons for red cars and blue cars by building with the blocky coding language. Now, one of the things that we can do to speed up our coding is not to have to drag blocks from the side here. These are very convenient for getting the spelling correct and being able to clip things together like building Lego. But they are not the only way we can do things. So I'm going to go here to show text, and that will show you that behind the scenes we have some JavaScript that is being used to run these events. So what I can do is I can highlight a chunk of the code here and copy that. I can then come down to the line below and paste. And I've now got two things called button blue car click, and that would be a problem if I leave it like that. If I just try to leave this and run, we may find that we get, if I click button blue car, it went up by 2 instead of 1. One click produced 2 events. And that's because each of these is doing a job. So we shouldn't really ever have the same named event where it's got an ID and a type of event. We shouldn't ever have them doubled up. What I really need to do here is to change button blue car to button other car. And when that happens, instead of label blue car, I should have label any car that gets label any car. So label any car should change label any car and add 1 to what was in it already. So this is incrementing, adding 1 to something. We take its current value, we add 1, and we set it back into where it came from. So if I run this code now, I have copied and pasted it in the show text, but I have then tried it out, and that seems to be working. Got a little bit of a glitch in terms of the font size there when we click on it, but it's still doing its job properly. So in theory, I can make some copying and pasting quite easily and then make some adjustments in the block part. I could have done the whole thing in show text. And what we'll do is if I go into design view, I'll show you how that would work. So I'm going to take my any color car, I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to make some changes to it. So the first change is that I'm going to change this to truck. And because I'm changing that to truck, I'm going to go and choose a different icon. So I'm coming down to the image property of that particular button. I'm going to go to icons and I'm going to scroll down and find the truck icon. And that I might just change the color of the icon as well. So the icon color, which is gray at the moment, trucks, I think would be better if they were black. And therefore the text color has to stand out against that. So we'll maybe make that something like yellow. Okay. I need to have a label to count the trucks. So again, I pick one of the labels and I duplicate. I change it from label 1 to label truck. And I move it down ready to do its counting. Okay, so I now need to hook up some code, an event handler, to this particular button. I go back into code view, and rather than build it using these blocks here, what I'm going to do is go to show text. I'm going to highlight all of this text here and copy. I'm going to move down to a new line and I'm going to paste. And then, did I rename that button? I renamed it to button truck. So I should just be able to edit directly into my text here. And then what do I want to set? I want to set label truck to get number of label truck with 1 added on. And if I run my code here, red car works, blue car works, any car works, and truck does not work. Now, if you look down in the debug console, it tells me the onEventID parameter referred to button truck, which does not exist. So I'm getting some help in debugging what went wrong by looking at this console. I need to go back into design view, click on my button here. Oh, I forgot to name it. It's still called button 1. So that's where I've gone wrong. I need to get into the habit of always renaming something as soon as a widget's on there. If I duplicate a widget, change the name straight away. If I drop on a widget, change the name straight away. And now if I run my program, red works, blue works, any works, and now truck is working too. Okay, so we have a working application that lets us count various different vehicles, and we're going to do one improvement to this. Now I'm going to make some space here. So in design view, I need to reset this, and I'm going to take each of my buttons, and I've got 320 pixels across the way. So I'm going to make them a height and a width of 75. 75 by 75, and the same with each of the others. 75 by 75. Any color which might struggle with the size of the text. And then truck, also 75 by 75. And the reason I've done that is because I'm going to try and fit all 4 buttons along the top here. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. I've got my red car, I've got my blue car, I've got my any car, and I've got my truck. And they are fitting across the top of the screen now. That was label red car, that was label blue car, that was label any car, and that was label truck. Okay, and I guess each of those is probably a little bit on the big side now, so I should probably adjust the font size and maybe take them down to something like 40, 40-ish in each case. So that we can fit in the information along that top row. Finally, with truck, down to 40. Okay, so why have I done this? Well, what I want to do is I want to fit a chart on in this bottom area here. So I've taken a chart, I've dragged it onto the screen here. I would like to fit it in a reasonable amount of space here. So I'm going to crank up the width to about 300. And I'm going to crank the height up so that it fills the remaining space that is available. So the width is about 300, the height is going to be about 220 will do, I suppose. Okay, and remember, when you drop a widget on, one of the first things to do is to rename it. So instead of chart 1, I'm calling it chart result. Okay. So I have the option of draw chart using data I provide, or draw chart from records, and that uses the table storage. We're going to use data that we provide. So I'm going to look at insert and show code, and you can see it says on chart result, click. What am I going to do? I'm going to draw chart. So you may have to add the on event there, on event chart result.click, otherwise it was just going to draw it on its own. I want it to redraw every time the chart gets clicked. So on event chart result click, and then we take the draw chart result and we put it in here. Now you can see that it's going to just have a label and a value, value 1, value 2. This is no good to us. What we want is that the label is going to be for the information that we have. So the first label should be red car, and the next label should be for blue car. And you can see that we've run out of options here. So it's probably going to be easier to actually go and edit this in the text editor. So I'm going to click here, show text. And what I want to do is make a copy of this line here for each additional piece of information that I want. So I'm going to right click and copy, and then I'm going to come down a line. Oh, sorry, if I click here first, I'm going to come down a line and paste, and down a line and paste, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of results. Commas between these, but not on the end there. And it should go red car, blue car, any car, and truck. Okay, I'm now going to switch back into block mode. Instead of value 1 here, I don't want a 1, I want how many red cars I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get number, and I'm going to drop that in where I've got the 1, and the number I want to get is label red car. And then the same kind of thing for all the other ones. So get number of label blue car to match up to the label blue car. Get number any car to match up to label any car. And get number of truck, of label truck. So now I have given it the source of the different bits of information. If I click on run now, I'm going to make maybe different amounts, 2 of those, 3 of those, and maybe 5 of those. Okay, if I now click in this area here, you can see that it has drawn me a bar graph, because that's what I'd specified, and it's got labels. Maybe that one's too small to see. I could probably remove this key here, which would help. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this from a bar chart to a pie chart. And then if I run again, I want to have 4 of those, 1 of those, 2 of those, and 3 of those. And I click in this area, and you can see there my labels are working better because of the key being at the side of a pie. And you can see the size of the chart is showing up. If I mouse over, then it shows me the actual percentages that I have used. So we now have a very useful survey app that shows us the results with a bit of a click. It would be helpful to put a label in here just to say click this area in order to show the chart.